Hey guys, this is Andres, and I'm here to talk about part one of teaching standards, how to blend Common Core state standards into secondary instruction. Um, and after reading this, it almost this book honestly seems a lot like they're just trying to build up Common Core standards and essentially make them sound like it's not a terrible thing and that they're actually really beneficial. And after reading it, I actually do agree that the Common Core state standards are trying to make a difference and they are trying to do something positive. Here a quote from chapter one says that the Common Core state standards are an organic outgrowth of the standards movement, easily integrated into the fabric of most states' curriculum and a part of the national dialogue regarding how students, schools, school systems, and teachers will and should be assessed. Um, so overall, I think that this first part just kind of goes over what and how to use the state standards, a little bit of the background. One thing that I talked about is that the state standards are almost supposed to help with these things called the habits of mind, and some examples of habits of mind are persisting, managing impulsivity, thinking flexibly, striving for accuracy. And that just kind of goes to show like what these standards are really trying to do. While they're trying to implement these different things where different assessments that some teachers aren't very comfortable with, at the same time, they're trying to be more, responsive to students and getting them to really have take meaning from what they're learning, as far as in any sort of class. In chapter one, I also liked where they talk about how cooperative learning strategies are the best instructional match for how adolescents learn, which I've seen pretty evident in my class. How these some of these cooperative learning strategies really work and how they can get students to come together and work towards the same goal overall, which I thought was cool because cooperative learning, I mean, that's how learning does happen when you work together and when you work through problems as a whole. Um, Another really cool thing that I read from the book, I think this was in chapter two, or no, it was again in chapter one, was when they were talking about how the Common Core state standards, they tell you what should teach, but pretty much they give teachers the freedom how to do that and what instructional strategies to use. And I mean, that's just so true. Whenever people ask me, like, "Oh, dude, what curriculum do you use, or how do you do it?" I always tell them, "Well, I have like these specific things I'm supposed to follow, but the way that I do it is really up to my own discretion, and that's totally evident in the Common Core state standards. They give you these guidelines on what you should do, but don't necessarily tell you how to do it. They kind of leave that up to your own interpretation, which is cool." I also like chapter two from this book, where it just kind of goes over like how we learn and how learning happens, which was good to review. How they talk about schema and background knowledge and the importance of prior knowledge, which is something that I've really been trying to implement a lot in my classroom. Building on what students already know and having them make meaning of what they should know, is really important as far as Common Core state standards go. So overall, just a reflection, kind of these two chapters. Again, it was just a brief little introduction to what the state standards were, how like it really wasn't trying to step on toes of these old veteran teachers who like aren't fans of it, but how its goal is to try and make a system where it challenges students to learn these particular skills, and challenges teachers to implement them, but in creative ways that are engaging not just for a small percent of the students, but for their entire students overall.